Somewhere in the deepest depths of the internet is a song. In all my time obsessing over lost wave music, nothing has quite captured my attention like the story of La Canción de Alicia, also known as Under the Stars. We've covered a few other lost wave songs here on this channel, and yet none seem to match the level of sheer mystery surrounding La Canción de Alicia. The high amount of reverb in the recording indicating it may have been a chaotic live gig, those raspy lead vocals near screaming in desperation, the open hi-hats splattering with each hit, there is a strangeness and ethereality to La Canción de Alicia that sets it apart even in a field of musical esotericism like Lost Wave. So let's begin this story at the beginning. In order to fully understand La Canción de Alicia, we have to go back to its origin point, which surprisingly is Facebook, of all places. Now, I have not used Facebook since 2013, so it surprised me to find out that there is in fact a robust and active lost media community on there, which leads us to the group Lost Media Perdidos Posting, which focuses on highlighting and searching for lost media in the Spanish-speaking world. Now, if you scan Lost Media Perdidos Posting, you will see, like most pages on the internet dedicated to lost media, an ocean of new posts each day of unidentified pieces of music. And as we all know, most of those pieces, sadly, sit unidentified, sometimes for decades. However, like a few times before in internet history, lightning struck Lost Media Perdidos Posting sometime in early 2021, when a user named Jitomate Triste posted a short audio clip with the tagline that roughly translates to, "Hey, does anyone know the name of this song? I really love DMs. Thank you." Now, I am sure the first people to come across this post didn't expect much. However, all that changed when they heard this. I have to say, even now, after listening to this audio multiple times preparing for this video, it still catches me off guard with its entrancing, haunting qualities. Now, initially, like most lost media posts on the internet, Jitomate Triste's call for song ID didn't really go anywhere. However, after the song languished for an indeterminate amount of time on Lost Media's Perdidos posting, a YouTuber by the name of Bluxid uploaded the audio of La Canción de Alicia synced with these haunting images from Disney's 1951 animated adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, and this piece of media ended up coining the name of the song, that being the eponymous La Canción de Alicia. Now, before we move forward, I just want to touch on one thing that I think most everyone else covering this has so far not mentioned, that being, who synced these images of Alice in Wonderland with these songs and turned it into this highly edited psychedelic video? Also, where was it first posted? Was it Bluxid uploading to YouTube? I mean, it's possible, but then again, he might have just seen the clip posted to Facebook and re-uploaded it. And this is something that is rather unique to the story of La Canción de Alicia versus some of the other lost media we have covered on this channel. Aside from Jitomate Triste's initial audio-only post, we have no idea how the audio was combined with this footage and transmogrified into this now iconic video clip. I mean, just look at this. There is something so inherently narrative about the way this video starts, with Jitomate's original post and then the falling Alice keyed in. It just seems way ARG-like to me. Not saying this is an ARG or anything, but the editing has a psychedelic detail to it that is so uncanny, it feels like it was meant to increase the visibility of this song. So, given this, I decided I needed to at least find some info on how this video edit came about before I moved on. And with this initiative, I took to searching the Lost Media Perdidos posting page on Facebook, looking to see if anyone had any info about when this clip first appeared. After about a few hours of searching, I came upon this post, which I will display on the screen here. Pause if you want to read. Basically, the gist of it was, this user had figured out that the psychedelic edits of Alice in Wonderland were not something created on the fly to accompany the audio, but were media that had existed on the internet for at least 10 years, according to the Russian search engine Yandex. Now, with this information, I think we can can add a few key conclusions about the nature of La Canción de Alicia's iconic video. 1. Whoever put this video together most likely had very limited experience in video editing, hence the need to pull pre-existing edited clips from the internet. And 2. The original creator of this video may originate from somewhere in Russia or Eastern Europe. Now, I am not saying that as a definitive point, because theoretically you don't need to be in the former Soviet Union to use Yandex. And just to be sure, I decided to do some research to see if maybe, for whatever reason, Yandex might be a popular search engine in South America. And according to all my research, that is definitively not the case. I only have data from Brazil, but based on this market research, it appears, like in America and Western Europe, Google reigns supreme in South America, which further raises the likelihood that this edit came from somewhere in the former Soviet Union. Now, returning to the main timeline, after Jitomate Triste made their initial post on Lost Media Perdidos posting, it wasn't long before the famous YouTube upload of the song synced with the Alice footage appeared on Bluxid's channel, as we mentioned earlier. The upload date for this video was July 5th, 2021, and this was the catalyst that really set the internet into a collective frenzy and brought us to where we are today. Now, at some point in late 2021 and early 2022, the channel Bandas de Chile was identified as a possible place to search for the band or artist who may have had a hand in writing La Canción de Alicia, due to the mutually agreed assessment from the Lost Wave community that the lead singer's accent sounded quite Patagonia adjacent. Now, I want to pause for a second and admit there is a bit of a gap in the timeline here. Despite my hours and days of searching, I am not exactly clear who discovered the Bandas de Chile page or how it got propagated widely. If you have any info about that, please leave it in the comments. I would love to know. Now, as stated earlier, once the Bandas de Chile page was discovered, people felt like they had found Atlantis. Many netizens spent hours trawling the page for any Britpop sounding band with a raspy lead singer. And finally, after days or possibly weeks of searching, again the timeline is a bit muddy, one user came across the band Gin and Tonic, which sounded like this. Now, personally, unlike a lot of people, I didn't exactly hear the striking similarities that everyone else did. But nonetheless, given the quality of the recording we had, it wasn't so far-fetched to think this was a thread that should be run to ground. But here is where the story takes a very weird turn. On the now 16-year-old upload of Gin and Tonic rehearsing on the Bandas de Chile page, there was an unhyperlinked web address in the description, which unsurprisingly takes us nowhere. The Wayback Machine doesn't provide much either, except for one interior link within the archive website that, thank God, worked. This link showed a lineup of the bandmates, telling us the lead singer's name was Ricardo Mendes. The only other archive post was a text post from Ricardo telling the world that he was not happy with his bandmates and that the band sadly had broken up acrimoniously. And that's presumably where this search may have ended. Enter the YouTube channel Yo Yo Yo. Now, the discovery of Gin and Tonic led many people to scour the internet for their complete discography, suspecting that within it was La Canción de Alicia. Now, while this was happening, out of the blue, the YouTube channel Yo 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 uploaded Gin and Tonic's full-length debut album, Free as the Sun. Needless to say, this was a major breakthrough handed to the Lost Wave community on a silver platter. People immediately started to dig in and look for La Canción de Alicia within Gin and Tonic's debut record. However, while the record did indeed slap and was a good example in my opinion of Britpop at its best, La Canción de Alicia was nowhere to be found. The real intrigue, however, from Free as the Sun did not come from the music contained within, but from Yo Yo Yo's replies to various comment threads on the upload. In these said threads, Yo 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 indicated that they had shared rehearsal space with Gin and Tonic back in the day in Chile, and to some degree him and the band were on rather cordial terms back then, which explained how he was in possession of Free as the Sun. Also, amazingly, in Yo Yo Yo's comment section, we find out that some of those same Lost Wave heads from earlier who were searching down Gin and Tonic's entire discography had in fact managed to get in contact with lead singer Ricardo Mendes through Gin and Tonic's official 2005 era Hotmail account that, astoundingly, Ricardo apparently was checking often enough to have answered them relatively promptly. Now, this is where the story gets an additional layer of esotericism, as if we didn't already have enough. In Ricardo's responses to the Lost Wave heads, he said the following: So according to this translated reply, it seems like Ricardo had at first denied knowledge altogether of what gin and tonic even was, let alone the song in question. Then he cryptically implied perhaps he in fact was the author of La Canción de Alicia and offered to do a 2.0 version, before then tripling back and cryptically implying he wasn't the author, while also still leaving the door open to the interpretation that he in fact was. Yeah, so Ricardo appears to be a bit of an oddball, but he did end up doing something rather incredible in the wake of this exchange. Shortly after Yo 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 communicated to his commenters that Ricardo and the Lost Wave heads had been in contact, a YouTube channel appeared entitled Richard Vox that gave us this upload. Now, I have to say, this is perhaps as good of a Britpop style recreation we could have ever hoped to get for La Canción de Alicia. And for a lot of people, not only was this a pitch perfect recreation, but it cemented in a lot of Lost Wave heads' minds that this was in fact the original lost full version, but re-recorded. And Ricardo and Gin and Tonic had in fact been the original artists. Case closed, right? Well, here's why that's not exactly the case, proven by science. First, let's listen back to the original video uploaded by Bluxid and then Ricardo's upload side by side. When I see you facing the darkest night, I just wanna be the only who change your mind. When I see your face in the darkest night, I just wanna be the one who change your mind. But my life is bigger than a simple dream that reminded me that love is a mystery. Close, no? Well, let's stop for a second and listen to some live recordings of Ricardo in present day that he posted to Instagram.
Help me understand, or take me as I am. I'll change my point of view, anything for you. When I said I can see me in your eyes, you said I can see you in my bed. I bet you think that's pretty clever, don't you, boy?
As we can clearly see, the original singer's vocal has not only a more prominent South American accent than Ricardo's, but it is a lower male voice class, i.e., Ricardo is clearly a tenor, and the original singer, based on the strain and rasp of his original vocal, is clearly, in my opinion, a baritone. And here's the thing, according to all scientific studies, male voices get lower as they age, not higher. So if the original recording of La Canción de Alicia really was Ricardo, it would make no sense that he had a lower voice as a teenager during Gin and Tonic than he does now as a full-grown adult. There are a lot of reasons in my opinion to doubt Ricardo as the OG singer, but this piece of evidence for me is the most compelling. So Ricardo Mendez is ruled out as the singer of La Canción de Alicia. South America, however, specifically Chile and Argentina, in my opinion, are not. And at this point in the story, I felt like I had reached my conclusion, and honestly, I was about to close out this script and begin cutting picture to audio when the trusty YouTube algorithm threw me for quite a loop. As I was browsing around one day, and based on the fact that I had been looking up a ton of South American rock bands, the YouTube algorithm showed me this.
I look out my window and watch the cheap pieces ride, and said to myself,
needless to say, I took notice. Here was a band whose sound was much closer to the original sound of La Canción de Alicia than anything else I had come across during my search, so upon hearing this band, I immediately looked them up thinking this would be the start of another Gin and Tonic style search that would be arduous and inevitably delay this video even further than it already has been. To my surprise, however, it turns out not only were Intoxicados a well-known band in South America, but they were in fact signed to Universal Records. I can't say for sure if there's anything to this, but to me, searching Intoxicado's back catalog might not be such a bad place to look in this ongoing search. And that's about where we are right now in current day in the search for La Canción de Alicia. Some cool bands rescued from obscurity, some thin leads I am personally still trying to run to ground, but overall we still don't have the elusive prize. And like I did with Everyone Knows That, which you should go ahead and check out my video on that piece of lost media, I figured one thing I could do to spread awareness was to record a cover of La Canción de Alicia, and so I did just that. Now, since I don't really have a Britpop voice, and in my opinion there is no way anyone could ever hope to make a better Britpop style remake than Ricardo did, I decided to channel my remake through the kinds of bands that I love from the 90s, namely My Bloody Valentine, Smashing Pumpkins, Dinosaur Jr., bands like that. Anyway, feel free to stream and listen to my remake if you want. Links for all that will be below. And lastly, before I go, I want to take this opportunity to announce an album I will be releasing at the end of the year entitled Lost Wave Volume 1. Long story short, you guys, I realized as I was making these video essays on pieces of lost media that recording and completing these songs was not just a fun thing for me to tack on at the end of these videos, but actually might help in the aid of searching for these authors. So basically, my plan for the rest of the year is I'm going to be covering a bunch more Lost Wave songs, both in video essay investigations and recordings and remakes. Then, as Christmas approaches, I'll drop a full record of these songs with some bonus tracks, of course, that I will announce in the future. And hopefully, the popularity, or at least visibility, of people streaming these songs will speed up the search for the authors and will be able to cut through some of the noise that often accompanies trying to get in contact with suspected leads and running various threads to the ground. If you want to support me on Patreon as a part of this project, that would be much, and I mean much, appreciated. So yeah, anyways, this is where we stand with La Canción de Alicia. Make sure to stick around for the next video, which I swear, I promise, will not take this long again. We will be covering another piece of South American Lost Wave that I think you guys are gonna like. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.